Hi, this is CC Fridland, the home chef with FocusAL.com. Today in our series on a Valentine's Day dinner, we come to the entree. You're going to love this one. I call it beef Casanova. It's a filet dinner with a lovely brandy cream sauce. For the beef Casanova, we've got to start with our steaks. So we've got some lovely fillets. All I've done is put a little salt and pepper on them and let them sit for just a minute. In the meantime, I'm heating up our pan. We're going to take about 3 tablespoons or so of butter into the pan. There we go. Add a little olive oil to that. Now the reason I'm mixing the olive oil and the butter is the butter will burn if we're not careful, and the olive oil helps raise the smoke point and the burn point of the fat. So we'll get that all nice melted up. While that's finishing to melt, we're going to take the steaks and just quickly dredge them in flour. Any excess off. Butter's almost melted and ready to go. Here our butter is all nice and sizzling. It's foamed up, so we're ready to add the steaks. The steaks go in. Now don't move the steaks once you put them in. You don't want to crowd them, so I'm using this size pan. I get 4 steaks in here nice and comfortably. And the next thing we want to do is I'm going to take a small lid, a little smaller than that, put it in here and kind of push down and make sure that this is getting some good heat going into the center of the steaks. Now we're going to let this sit for about 4 or 5 minutes, check the sides, and we'll flip them and keep cooking. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the steaks. I'm often asked about where I prefer to buy beautiful steaks like this. Well, there's several places in town that I personally prefer. I'm sure there are others, but I like Earth Fare and Fresh Market. Earth Fare has some nice grass-fed, especially if you get some of the Australian stuff. And Fresh Market has some lovely, almost prime tenderloins that they'll cut fillets from. So let's check. Oh, look at that. That's looking good on that side. We'll go ahead and start turning these. Get all of the steaks turned over. Now, if your steaks stick, that's okay. They're supposed to. Just let it sit for another minute or 2. Don't try and pry them up. You'll leave some good stuff there behind. So just let it go. These are perfect. We're going to let them cook about another 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll start on the sauce. So the steaks are about done. We're ready to go ahead and move them. What we're going to do, though, is move them to a sheet pan and put them in the oven while we make the sauce. Now, one thing you need to always have around is an instant read thermometer, because what I care about is what is the temperature in the middle of the steak. So I can take the thermometer, put it in here, and get a temperature of the inside. That's perfect. I want it to be about 135 for a nice medium to medium rare. We're going to go ahead and take these out of the pan onto our sheet pan. Our sheet pan is going into a 200-degree oven where that will keep those warm while we put together the sauce. So now what I've got in here, you see all those little bits in the bottom? That's good tasting stuff, and that's what we want in our sauce. So we're going to start with some brandy. I'm actually using a liqueur. I'm going to use a little Pernod with this. I think it gives an interesting flavor with that anise in there. A little bit of that. We're going to add some pork. So about 3/4 of a cup of pork. That looks about right. And we're going to add some dry mustard to give the sauce a little more flavor. And we want to scrape everything up, so I'm going to grab it here and just, we call this deglazing the pan. So that's going to bring those little brown bits off the bottom. Technically, those brown bits are called fond. We just call them flavor, because that's what's going to make this sauce taste so wonderful. Let me get a whisk to work with. Smooth this out. Here we go. So now we're ready to start with mixing in the cream. Oh, that looks good. Into the sauce. That incorporated. And then we're going to start adding the butter a little at a time. I've got about 6 tablespoons here. Let that melt down. Whisk that into the sauce. Put in our last chunk of butter. Now we want to just double check the seasoning. Just check the seasoning real quick. Needs a little bit of salt and pepper. So you just salt and pepper to your taste. Turn it down just a hair. And we're ready to mix that in. Again, this is one of those nice and elegant but pretty easy dishes to do. As you can see, nothing real fancy we've done so far. Next step is we do need to get the steaks back out of the oven and ready to go back in the sauce. So we want to take the steaks back into the pan. Turn them over, get them coated in the sauce. Okay, we are ready to plate and eat this. Let me grab a plate. So you want to take the steak onto the plate. Get some of the sauce, spoon that little extra sauce over the top of that steak. Now, if you remember from the last 2 weeks, you put those beautiful potatoes and green beans next to this, you've got a fabulous Valentine's dinner. So here you have it, beef Casanova. I'm C.C. Fridland, the home chef with FocusAL.com.